Well, predicting macroeconomics is always difficult, and one should assign probabilities to these things. But ironically, I did last year. People asked me what I think about the economy. I said, well, I think we might enter a recession in approximately spring of 2022.
Called it, nailed it.
Yeah. Now the thing is that recessions are not necessarily a bad thing. I've now been through a few of them, and what tends to happen is if you have a boom that goes on for too long, you get misallocation of capital. It starts raining money on fools, basically. It's like any dumb thing gets money, and I'm sure you've seen a few of those. And sort of the bullshit companies go bankrupt, and the ones that are doing useful products are prosperous. But there's certainly a lesson here that if one is making useful product and has a company that makes sense, make sure you're not running things too close to the edge from a capital standpoint. They've got some capital reserves to last through irrational times. Because in the past, when there's been a recession, it has gone. It's amazing. It's flipped like a light switch. I mean, David, do you remember this from the PayPal, ex-PayPal days, when we raised $100 million in March of 2000. And we had the demand was so high, we had people like VCs like just literally without even a term sheet wiring money into our account. Anyway, so it's just important to make sure if you're a healthy company, you got some capital to get through things, and then what's your costs, and if it is a recession, which more likely than not it is a recession. I'm not saying it is, but it probably is. Then just watch your cash flow and get to positive cash flow as soon as you can. But I think we probably are in a recession, and that recession will get worse. But these things pass, and then there will be boom times again.
I mean, really. If you have your calendar synced with the car, or it's just if you don't say anything, the car should just default take you to work or take you home. Like if it knows or take you to the destination in your calendar, you just don't even say anything. Just get in and
get out.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Do you think we're headed into like a big recession?
I don't think we're headed into a big recession. I'd say like maybe a mild recession. But it could be a mild recession that lasts for a couple of years, something like that, But the thing that's hard to predict are like, if there's like, if there's like a war between China and Taiwan or something like that, that would send the world into a recession, and that's a possibility. If there's some like big event, but like, and there is a challenge in China right now with.
Shit's scary. The Taiwan-China.
The Taiwan-China stuff is worrying.
Taiwan's scary.
There is, independent of that, there is there's kind of a looming bust in the property market in China, where there's just been they've overbuilt apartments and buildings in general. There's just too many primary housing units in China, which seems crazy because a lot of people in China, but China has overbuilt primary housing units, and people have speculated on primary housing units, just like the U.S. did in the lead up to 2008. So in the U.S. lead up to 2008, the U.S. was building primary housing units at twice the rate of household formation. So if you're making houses twice as fast as families are forming, then obviously something's got to give. And we're doing that in the U.S. for a while. And so China's been doing that as well, but even more. So that's a correction that's going to happen. But ultimately, the Chinese economy will be gigantic and is gigantic, and will recover from this. But there's going to be probably a temporary recession in China, driven by an overallocation of resources towards construction.
We will have a recession. I think it will be a relatively mild recession, sort of. But I'm just guessing here. This is total.
speculation. But I would guess it's a mild recession for, I don't know, 18 months or something like that. It would be my best guess right now. It's important to bear in mind that we've had a very long expansion in the economy, maybe the longest ever. And borrowing against stock is all sort of fun and games until you have a recession and you get the margin calls, and then you go to zero, which happens basically every time there's a recession. Right. Stocks don't always go up. I mean, I think it's really. I do think there, in the United States especially, there's an overallocation of talent in finance and law. Basically, too many smart people go into finance and law. So, this is both a compliment and a criticism. We should have, I think, fewer people doing law and fewer people doing finance and more people making stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that would certainly be better for all involved if they made better stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Manufacturing used to be highly valued in the United States, and these days it's not. It's often looked down upon, which I think is wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think that people are kind of learning that, particularly because of this whole pandemic and this relationship that we have with China, that there's a lot of value into making things here.
Yes, somebody's got to do the real work. Crypto is an attempt to reduce the error in money that is contributed by governments diluting the money supply as basically a pernicious form of taxation.
So both policy in terms of with inflation and actual technological cobalt, cryptocurrency takes us into the 21st century in terms of the actual systems that allow you to do the transaction, to store wealth, all those kinds of things.
Like I said, just think of money as information. People often will think of money as having power in and of itself. It does not. Money is information, and it does not have power in and of itself. Again, applying the physics tools of thinking about things in the limit is helpful. If you are stranded on a tropical island and you have $1 trillion, it's useless because there's no resource allocation.